I should probably start with a little background about my life before everything went sideways. My name is Mark, and I'm a 34-year-old marketing manager living in a suburb of Chicago. I thought I had a pretty decent life. I had a steady job, a house I loved, and a wife named Jessica who had a smile that could light up the whole room. We'd been married for 8 years, and for the most part it was good. Or at least that's what I thought. But lately, things felt off. It started with little things, a change in her routine, a bit of defensiveness when I asked about her phone. I brushed it off at first because, frankly, I know how busy life can get and maybe I was just being paranoid. Jessica had been more distant, preoccupied with her phone, often texting late at night, and I'd catch her smirking sometimes, which made my gut twist in a way I couldn't ignore. She'd say it was just work stress, but deep down, I felt like I was losing her. Then one night everything changed. I got home from work early, a rare occurrence, and decided to surprise her with dinner. I had picked up her favorite takeout and thought it would be a nice way to reconnect. Instead, I found her on the couch, phone in hand, a look of sheer panic on her face when I walked in. The moment she saw me, she quickly hid her phone and I could see the guilt radiating from her. "Hey, you're home early," she exclaimed, trying to mask her surprise with a forced smile. "Yeah, thought I'd surprise you," I said, trying to keep my voice even. I was already suspicious, and her reaction only fueled that. I placed the food on the table, my stomach churning as I watched her closely. The way she avoided eye contact, the slight tremor in her voice when she asked about my day, it all felt like something was off. The unease grew in me like a balloon ready to burst, and that's when I decided to take a look at her phone. I'd never done this before. We had always trusted each other, or so I thought. But something compelled me to check. As I grabbed the phone, my heart raced. I knew it was an invasion of privacy, but I also felt like I was about to uncover something that could shatter my whole world. I unlocked her phone. She had left it open to a chat app, and there it was, a conversation with a name I didn't recognize. Jake, it read, and it didn't take long for me to realize it was her tattoo artist. The messages were flirtatious, filled with heart emojis and winking faces. My mind raced as I scrolled through the exchange, each line cutting deeper than the last. "I can't wait to see you again," one message read. My heart dropped. I felt like I had been punched in the gut. I confronted her right then and there. "Who the hell is Jake?" I demanded, my voice trembling with anger and betrayal. Jessica looked like she had seen a ghost. "What? No, Mark, it's not what you think," she stammered, her eyes darting back and forth, clearly panicking. "Not what I think. Then what is it? Because it looks pretty damn obvious to me." She started to make excuses, claiming it was just harmless flirting and that I was blowing things out of proportion. But as I listened to her pathetic attempts at justifying betrayal, I felt a mix of rage and sadness wash over me, leaving me feeling hollow. How could she do this to us? How could she lie so effortlessly? I was devastated. All the little signs I had brushed off now made sense. I felt like a fool, but mostly I was angry. I stormed out that night, needing time away from her and the lies that were suffocating me. I'd never felt such a powerful surge of emotions before, a whirlwind of hurt, anger, and confusion. I drove around aimlessly, not knowing where to go, just wanting to escape. In that dark moment, I didn't know what I should do next. It was clear that I couldn't stay in that house, surrounded by memories that felt tainted. And more than anything, I knew I had to find a way to reclaim my sense of self. I had to decide what my next steps would be. I spent the night at a friend's place, Michael, who was probably the most supportive person I knew. He offered me a couch and a few beers, and I needed both. As I sat there, I replayed the events of the night over and over in my head. I couldn't believe Jessica would betray me like that. She was always so bubbly, so full of life. It didn't match with the image I had of her as a devoted wife. The more I thought about it, the more furious I became. Michael listened as I vented, his expression shifting from concern to disbelief as I recounted the messages I'd seen. "Dude, you need to confront her," he advised. "You can't let her get away with this. You deserve better." I thought about that line, "You deserve better." It echoed in my mind. I had always prided myself on being a good husband, on giving Jessica everything she ever wanted. I had sacrificed my own hobbies and failed to pursue my own dreams just to support her. And this was how she repaid me, with a tattoo artist on the side who obviously didn't care about the vows we took. The next day, I returned home, my heart pounding as I opened the door. Jessica was sitting there, her eyes red and puffy from crying. She looked vulnerable, but I was past feeling sorry for her. It was time for me to take control of the situation. I sat down across from her and she immediately started to speak, but I raised my hand to stop her. "Save it," I said, my voice steady. "I saw the messages, I know everything." Her face paled and for a moment there was silence, the kind that hangs heavy in the air. "Mark, please," she started, but I cut her off again. "No more lies, Jess. You think I'm going to fall for your excuses. You've betrayed my trust. You've betrayed us." I watched as she attempted to defend herself, her words tumbling out in a jumbled mess. "It was just a fling. It didn't mean anything." I was confused, stressed. She was desperate and part of me almost felt bad for her, but I quickly reminded myself that I couldn't let her manipulation work. Confused. "Did you think sleeping with a guy you barely know would help? If anything, it just shows how shallow you are. You've turned our marriage into a joke." I felt the anger bubbling again, but I focused on staying calm. I needed to have control over this situation for once. I didn't want to turn it into a screaming match. I wanted to be clear-headed. I told her I needed time to think, to process everything. I wasn't sure what I wanted yet, but I knew I didn't trust her anymore. She begged me not to leave, swearing that she would do anything to fix things, but I couldn't see how. I spent the next few days alternating between anger and grief. I felt like I was navigating through a fog, unable to see the path ahead. Friends kept reaching out, wanting to know how I was doing, and I tried my best to be honest while also holding back the more painful details. I even lost my appetite. I had to remind myself to eat, and it felt like a chore. Then came the moment that sparked a change in me. I decided to visit the tattoo shop where Jessica had been seeing Jake. I was nervous, but also strangely empowered. I walked in, and the smell of ink and antiseptic hit me. A few artists were working, but I could see Jake in the back, drawing something on a piece of paper. I approached him, my heart pounding. "Hey, I'm Mark," I said, forcing myself to keep my voice steady. He looked up and I could see the surprise on his face. "What's up, man?" I didn't waste time with pleasantries. "I know about you and Jessica." The words hung in the air and I watched his smile fade. "Look, man, it wasn't like that," he started, but I wouldn't let him off the hook. "Save it. I'm not here to hear your excuses. I just want you to know that you're a coward for doing this behind my back. You knew she was married and you went for it anyway. You're a punk." He opened his mouth to respond, but I turned on my heel and walked out, feeling a strange sense of closure. I had confronted one of the people who contributed to the mess of my life, and it felt good to take a stand. Once I was outside, the weight of the world felt slightly lighter. I realized I didn't want to be that victim anymore. I needed to reclaim my identity, and that's when the idea struck me. I walked back to the shop and told the receptionist I wanted a tattoo. Not just any tattoo, but one that would symbolize my freedom and success. I wanted something that would remind me of this moment, not just the betrayal, but the strength I was beginning to find within myself. As I sat in the chair, I felt the needle buzz to life. It was the beginning of a new chapter, and I was determined to take control of my life moving forward. The buzzing of the tattoo needle drowned out the chaos in my mind. As the tattoo artist, a young woman named Sarah, started her work, I focused on the design I had chosen, a phoenix rising from the ashes. It was a powerful symbol of rebirth and resilience, and I wanted it to remind me that I could rise above the pain and betrayal. As she worked, I reflected on the events that had led me to this moment. The swirling emotions of heartbreak, anger, and confusion had, in many ways, become a part of me. But now I was choosing to transform that pain into something beautiful. The sting of the needle felt like a release, like I was shedding the old me, the one who had allowed himself to be hurt so deeply. After a while, Sarah finished the tattoo and wiped my arm clean. I looked at it in the mirror. The vibrant colors and intricate details gave me a rush of adrenaline. "Wow, that looks amazing," I said, almost surprised at how much I loved it. The tattoo was now a permanent reminder of my strength, a declaration that I would not let this betrayal define me. Once I left the shop, I felt invigorated. I had taken a step toward reclaiming my life, but I knew I still had to confront Jessica again. I needed to lay everything out on the table to decide if I wanted to try to salvage our marriage or if it was time to move on completely. That night, I returned home. Jessica was already awake, her eyes red and puffy again, a clear sign that she had been crying. I took a deep breath and sat across from her, the weight of the moment settling in. "I got a tattoo today," I said, trying to gauge her reaction. She looked at me confused. "A tattoo? You never wanted one before. What does it mean?" "It symbolizes my freedom." I replied, my voice steady. "It's a reminder that I can rise above this, above you, above the lies." Her expression shifted from confusion to anger. "You think that's the solution, just get a tattoo and somehow everything is fine?" "I'm not trying to make everything fine, Jess. I'm trying to take control of my life. You've made it clear that you can't be trusted, and I need to figure out what that means for us." She opened her mouth to respond, but I raised my hand again. "No excuses. I want the truth. If you want to try and fix this, I need to know how you feel. I need to know if you genuinely care about saving our marriage or if you're just scared of losing what you have." For a moment she looked small. I could see the guilt weighing on her. She started, but the words faltered on her lips. "I didn't mean for it to happen. I was lost, Mark. I thought it was just a stupid fling. You know how stressed I've been at work." "Stressed? Is that a good enough excuse?" I shot back, sensing my anger bubbling again. "You didn't just flirt, Jess. You slept with him, you let him into our lives, into our home, you broke my trust." I know, and I regret it," she pleaded, tears streaming down her face. "I should have never let it go that far. I didn't realize how much I needed attention, how lonely I felt. I've been there for you, Jessica. I've supported you through everything. And this is how you repay me, by letting some tattoo guy fill the void." She tried to reach for my hand, but I pulled away. "I'm not ready for that. I need to know what you want." "I want you," she said, her voice cracking. "I want to fix this. I'll do whatever it takes. Just please don't leave me." Her desperation caught me off guard. Part of me wanted to believe her, to think we could work through this. But I couldn't shake the feeling that the damage was too deep. I had been broken by her betrayal, and I wasn't sure if a simple apology could heal the wounds. I took a deep breath, trying to collect my thoughts. "If we're going to try and repair this, it has to be on my terms. I need to see real change. No more secrets, no more lies, and you need to cut off all contact with Jake. If you can't do that, then I think we both know what my answer has to be." Jessica nodded, her expression a mix of relief and fear. "I can do that, I promise. I'll make it right." The conversation left me feeling drained but somehow lighter. I didn't fully trust her yet, but I felt a glimmer of hope. Maybe we could make it work if she was truly committed. I couldn't ignore the fact that I loved her, despite everything that had happened. As I prepared for bed that night, the tattoo on my arm felt like a new badge of honor. It reminded me that I hadn't given up on myself, and that I was willing to fight for my happiness. Whether that meant fighting for my marriage or moving on alone, I was ready to embrace whatever came next. I fell asleep that night hoping that change was possible, but also ready to face whatever reality awaited me. The next few weeks were a whirlwind of emotions and efforts to rebuild trust. Jessica made a genuine attempt to reconnect, throwing herself into our relationship with an intensity I hadn't seen in a long time. She rearranged her schedule to spend more time with me, planned little surprises, and even started cooking dinner again. I'll admit, it felt nice to have her trying, but I was still on high alert. Every time her phone buzzed, my stomach would drop. I tried to focus on the positives. She was committed to making things work, but the memories of her betrayal felt like an insidious shadow, lurking just out of sight. I found myself often replaying our conversations in my mind, dissecting every detail of her words, looking for the slightest hint of insincerity. One evening, we went for a walk around the lake near our home. It was a beautiful night, and I wanted to believe that we were on the right path. As we strolled along the water hand in hand, I felt a flicker of hope. I wanted to believe that we could emerge from this tragedy stronger than we had been before. "Mark," she said, breaking the comfortable silence. "I know I've messed up, but I really want to make this right. I've been seeing a therapist to talk about my feelings and why I let it get that far." That caught me off guard. The fact that she was taking steps to address her issues made me feel a bit more optimistic. "That's good. I think you need it. We both do," I replied cautiously. "I want to be better for you," she continued. "I want you to feel safe with me again." "Safe? It's going to take time, Jess. I need to see that you mean it." She nodded, her expression sincere. "I promise I'll prove it. I know you're still hurting and I want to help you heal. I just need you to give me a chance." That evening was one of our best in recent weeks, but the underlying tension remained. After our walk, I went to bed that night with a mix of hope and skepticism. Could we really rebuild what had been broken, or were we just clinging to the remnants of what we used to have? A few days later, I came home from work to find Jessica in tears. My heart sank. "What happened?" I asked, rushing over to her. She wiped her eyes and took a shaky breath. "I just got off the phone with my therapist and she really pushed me to confront my emotions surrounding everything, and I guess it just hit me hard. I think I've been avoiding my feelings. I'm scared I'll never be able to regain your trust." I wrapped my arms around her, feeling her pain. "Jess, it's okay. You're allowed to feel that way. I'm scared too. But we're in this together, remember? We're trying to move forward." We spent the next hour talking about our fears and hopes, sharing our frustrations and aspirations. It felt nice to finally break down some walls, but I still couldn't shake the fear that this was all just a temporary reprieve. The next week, I decided to take an active step in my own healing. I went to see a therapist, hoping to gain some perspective on what had happened and how to move forward. As I sat in the comfortable office, I realized how much I needed this outlet. I had spent so long bottled up, feeling betrayed and hurt, that I hadn't allowed myself to process any of it. "Why do you think you want to stay with Jessica?" my therapist asked during our session. I paused, considering my response. "I love her, I really do, but I'm afraid of getting hurt again, afraid that this isn't going to work out." "Those feelings are valid, Mark. Trust is a fragile thing and it takes time to rebuild. What do you think it will take for you to feel secure in your relationship again?" "Consistency. I need to see real changes. I need her to be transparent and I need to feel like she's not going to slip up again." By the time I left, I felt lighter. It was good to articulate my feelings, to sort through the jumble of emotions in my head. I realized that while I was giving Jessica a chance to prove herself, I also needed to focus on my own healing and personal growth. As the weeks went by, I noticed small changes in Jessica. She was more attentive, more present, and for a while it felt like we were reprising the role of a happy couple. But just as I began to feel a semblance of normalcy returning to our lives, I got a message that shattered the fragile peace we had built. It was a text from an unknown number that read, "Hey Jessica, I miss you. Can't wait to see you again." My heart raced as I read those words, my stomach dropping to my feet. I felt betrayed all over again. I didn't want to believe it. I couldn't believe it. I immediately confronted Jessica, who was in the other room. "Who the hell is this?" I shouted, holding my phone out like a weapon. Her expression dropped as she stared at the screen. I don't know, I didn't send that," she stammered. "You didn't send it. Who else would have your number, Jess? You told me you cut ties with Jake." "I did, I swear," she pleaded, her face pale. "I haven't spoken to him since you found out. I promise, Mark." But I couldn't shake the feeling of betrayal that surged through me once more. This was supposed to be about rebuilding trust, and now it feels like you've just planted another knife in my back. "I would never do that to you again. Please just believe me." I took a few steps back, my heart racing. This was a breaking point. I was terrified of what would happen next. Would I be able to trust her again? Would this be the end of our effort to rebuild? I had to take a moment to collect my thoughts. One thing was clear. I was done with the guessing games and the uncertainty. I needed to find the truth, and I needed to do it soon. My heart might have been forgiving, but my mind knew it was time to face the harsh reality before me. The rest of that night was a blur. I was caught in a whirlwind of emotions, teetering between anger and despair. Every effort I had made to believe in us felt like it was crumbling right before my eyes. Jessica tried to explain, her voice shaky, but I could hardly hear her over the pounding of my heart and the whirlwind of thoughts in my head. The next morning I woke up early, my mind racing. I had to get to the bottom of this. I couldn't just brush this off as another misunderstanding. I needed clarity, even if it hurt. I decided to confront Jessica again. As I prepared to talk to her, I realized I was at a crossroads. I sat her down as soon as she stumbled into the kitchen, still half asleep. "We need to talk about the text from last night," I began, choosing my words carefully. "I can't just ignore it. I need to know who that was and why they're reaching out to you." "Mark, please, I swear I don't know who that is," she cried, her eyes wide with fear. "I haven't responded. I cut him out of my life." "Then why would he reach out like that?" I pressed, unable to contain my frustration. "We've been working so hard to rebuild trust, and now this, it feels like you're backtracking." "I don't know, maybe he got my number from someone else. Maybe he's just trying to mess with me because I stopped seeing him," she argued, her voice rising. I could see the desperation in her eyes, but it didn't quell the storm brewing inside me. "I need you to prove to me that you're serious about this. I need you to cut off all contact with anyone from your past who could jeopardize our relationship. I don't care how you do it, but I need to see you take action." Her face fell, and I could see the fear of losing me reflected in her eyes. "I'll do whatever it takes, Mark. I promise. Just please don't walk away from me." Her pleas struck a chord in me. I wanted to believe that she was sincere, but the fear that we were on the edge of something dark loomed large. I relented a bit and agreed to give her another chance, but I made it clear there would be no more chances after this. Over the next week, Jessica took steps to block any possible contact with Jake. She changed her number, updated her social media privacy settings, and even deleted old conversations from her phone. I observed her every move, still wary yet hopeful. She seemed determined to prove that she wanted to rebuild our life together. Despite her efforts, I found it hard to shake the unease. I couldn't help but feel like her commitment might not be enough to erase the damage that had been done. In the quiet moments when I lay in bed staring at the ceiling, I would wonder if we were really moving forward or if we were only delaying the inevitable. The real test came a few days later when I was out running errands. I picked up some groceries and decided to stop by a nearby coffee shop to grab a drink. As I sat sipping my iced coffee, I spotted Jessica walk in. My heart raced. I hadn't expected to see her out. She looked animated, chatting with a group of friends, and for a moment I felt a pang of relief. But that relief quickly turned to dread when I saw Jake enter the cafe a few minutes later. My blood ran cold as I watched him approach their table. Jessica's smile faded as she noticed him, and for a moment it felt like time stopped. I wanted to leap up and storm over to confront him, to demand an explanation, but I also felt frozen in place, unable to process what was happening. I watched as they exchanged words, a look of discomfort spreading across Jessica's face. My heart raced, adrenaline coursing through my veins as I tried to make sense of the situation. It felt like a scene from a nightmare I couldn't wake up from. Then, to my shock, Jessica stood up. She seemed to be arguing with Jake, her tone sharp and defensive. I strained to hear their conversation, but the ambient noise of the cafe drowned out their voices. I felt sick as I sat there, glued to my seat, watching my wife interact with the man who had shattered my trust. Finally, I couldn't take it anymore. I stood up and made my way over, my heart pounding. "What the hell is going on here?" I demanded, my voice loud enough to draw attention. Jessica turned, her expression shifting from surprise to guilt. "Mark, I was just what? Having coffee with your affair partner." I interrupted, my anger boiling over. "I thought you cut ties with him." "You promised." "Mark, it's not what you think," she pleaded, looking frantic. "He just wanted to apologize for the way things ended. I was just trying to be civil." "Civil? You're sitting here with after everything that's happened, and you call this civil?" I was furious, my voice rising. It felt like the betrayal was fresh all over again. Jake smirked, clearly unfazed by the confrontation. "Easy, man, you might want to take a step back. She's just trying to be polite." I felt a surge of rage. "Polite? You're the last person she should be polite to." "Mark, just calm down," Jessica begged, her hands raised defensively. "No, I'm done being calm. This is exactly what I was afraid of. I trusted you to do the right thing, and here you are, back with him like nothing happened." The tension in the cafe was palpable, and I could feel the eyes of other patrons on us. I didn't care. All I could feel was the betrayal clawing at my insides, ripping apart the fragile trust we had been trying to rebuild. "Let's go," I said to Jessica, my tone firm. We need to talk, now. I turned, storming out of the cafe, not caring if she followed. I was seething, fury coursing through my veins. I had given her a chance, and she had shattered it right before my eyes. I couldn't believe that after everything we had been through, she was still in touch with Jake. When we got home, I slammed the door behind us. "What were you thinking?" I shouted, pacing the living room. "This was your chance to prove to me that you wanted to mend things, and you threw it all away." "I was just trying to be nice." He wanted to apologize. She cried, tears streaming down her face. "I didn't think it would turn into this. I swear I wasn't trying to hurt you." Trying to be nice. Nice doesn't cut it, Jess. You know what you're doing, you know what this looks like. I promise I'm done with him. I thought I could handle it, but I see now that I can't. I'm so sorry. It felt like a dam had broken and the flood of emotions poured out of her. I stood there, my heart heavy. Could I really believe her? Or was this just another excuse, another lie wrapped in tears? "I don't know if I can do this anymore, Jess," I finally admitted, my voice shaking. "Please. Don't say that. I love you. I need you." She pleaded, desperation clear in her eyes, but I was lost. I didn't know if love was enough to salvage what had been broken. I had given her my heart and she had thrown it aside. It was a moment of clarity that cut through the chaos. I had to think about what was best for me. As we stood there, tears in her eyes, I realized I was at another crossroads. I needed to decide if I was going to fight for us again, or if it was time to finally walk away for good. In the emotional aftermath of that confrontation, I felt like I was standing on the edge of a precipice, teetering between the whirlwind of love and the undeniable pain of betrayal. Jessica's sobs echoed around me, a haunting reminder of what had been lost and what still might be possible. But deep down, I felt a simmering resolve brewing within me, telling me it was time to prioritize my own well-being. "Do you even understand what you've done?" I said, my voice steady despite the turmoil inside. "You had a chance to prove. You were committed to us and you chose to meet with him instead. It feels like you're still playing with fire." "I wasn't playing with fire, I was trying to be civil," she shot back, desperation creeping into her voice. "I thought I could handle it, but I see now how wrong I was." "Wrong is an understatement, Jess," I replied, crossing my arms as I turned away from her. "I feel like I'm living in a constant state of doubt. I can't keep doing this if you're not fully committed to making amends." She took a step closer, her expression shifting from anger to pleading. "I know, I'm committed. I just made a mistake. I didn't want to hurt you again. Yet here we are," I said, my heart heavy with the weight of disappointment. "You want to fix things, but you keep putting us in jeopardy. I can't keep my heart open while you're still keeping those doors ajar." Jessica collapsed onto the couch, burying her face in her hands. "I know I've messed up. I'm scared of losing you. Please don't leave. I want to change. I want us to be okay again." That night, I wrestled with my emotions. I didn't want to be the villain in our story, but how could I ignore the reality of her choices? I had spent years building our life together, and I still loved her deeply, but love alone wasn't enough to mend the fractures in our relationship. As dawn broke, I made my decision. I could see the damage was too deep for me to overlook. I didn't want to live a life where I constantly worried about betrayal, where trust was a fragile thread that could snap at any moment. I needed to reclaim my power to take control of my own happiness. When I finally spoke to Jessica, I did so with calm conviction. "I've thought about it, and I need to be honest with you. I can't stay in this relationship if I can't trust you. I need to protect myself from the pain of what's happened and what might happen again. I think it's best if we part ways." She looked shattered, her eyes wide with disbelief. "You can't be serious. We can get through this together." "Together," I echoed, shaking my head. "How can we be together when I feel like I'm constantly waiting for the next betrayal? I can't keep living in this limbo, Jess. I need to focus on myself for once." Tears streamed down her cheeks as she pleaded for a chance, but I stood firm. "I'm sorry, but I've made my decision. I need to heal, and I can't do that while we're still tied together in this way." The look in her eyes was one I'll never forget. It was a combination of anguish, regret, and disbelief. I walked away, feeling as though I was walking out of a chapter of my life that had been filled with love and happiness but had ultimately turned into betrayal and heartache. In the weeks that followed, I focused on rediscovering myself. I embraced my newfound freedom, taking each day as it came. I started hitting the gym regularly, picking up hobbies that I had neglected during my marriage. The tattoo of the phoenix on my arm became a daily reminder of my strength and resilience, a symbol of my journey toward healing. I reconnected with friends and family who had been neglected during my relationship. I began to explore the things I loved, reinvesting energy into my own dreams and ambitions. It was liberating and at times terrifying, but with every passing day, I felt more like myself again. Eventually, I sought out new avenues, meeting people, going on dates, and discovering what it was like to be truly free. I learned to appreciate the beauty of being single and the strength it took to walk away from something that no longer served me. Looking back, I realized that while the experience was painful, it ultimately made me stronger. I learned valuable lessons about love, trust, and self-worth. I was no longer willing to settle for anything less than I deserved. As I moved forward, I vowed to never let anyone have the power to dictate my happiness again. Life is too precious, and I had finally learned that true love begins with loving yourself first. I was ready to embrace whatever life had in store for me, one step at a time.